Hey guys, Trigger Happy John coming at you with another Diablo Immortal video. Today's video is going to be my leveling 1 through 60 Demon Hunter guide. Now the reason and the purpose of today's video is because with launch fast approaching us as of June 2nd, 1 p.m. EST, the game will go live. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully Blizzard has their stuff together and launch goes off without a hitch. Now, the reason why I'm making this video guide is one, I'm going Demon Hunter, and two, I want to show you guys my thought process on how I'm coming up with my build. The reason being is because you're going to have a slightly different build more than likely going from 1 through 60 than you will once you hit level 60 and you start farming gear. At that point, you're going to be kind of targeting certain gems and certain pieces of gear. Not to say as you're moving forward, you aren't already getting some sort of gear or some sort of gems, which could impact your build. So definitely keep that in mind. But I'm assuming, and the premise of this is that we are not going to be getting any of the gems or pieces of gear that we're really looking for by the time we get max level. And that's what we're going to go off of. As you see in the background, this is actually footage from the beta that I got from another YouTuber. I reached out, thanked him for letting me use the content. This is him soloing a level 73 Rift. Now, something to note is there's going to be a lot of group and solo play in this game. So as I'm talking about my build, I will be stating at what point I'm hoping to be in a group or solo. So keep that in mind when I'm going through this build guide. And also, full disclaimer, I didn't get to play the Demon Hunter that much during the beta. I actually played more Wizard than I did the actual Demon Hunter because I knew I was going to be going Demon Hunter for my main. So I chose to play the Wizard just to get a feel for it in case I liked it. So definitely stay tuned, and we're gonna get down into like the breakdown of the skills, what I'm thinking for what level and at what point we're gonna switch over skills and how they're gonna get used or how the playstyle is gonna be. So definitely stay tuned, and don't make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. All right, so we're back, and as you can see, we have our lovely spreadsheet that we've been working extremely hard on at Aftershock United to get this built and together. It's all done, and our website will be launching actually on Tuesday, just before global launch. Super excited. We have a really good web dev who's been working with us. It's got some amazing features going to come with this, as well as all the content creators that are part of Aftershock United are going to get kind of all their content's going to get put in one place. So that way you guys have like a one-stop shop for all of your content needs when it comes to Diablo Immortal. We also are expanding. We have already expanded from US West to US East servers to Europe servers to now we're about to start making an Asia clan, and the game hasn't even launched yet. So definitely keep that in mind if you're interested in joining us at Aftershock United. Links down below, definitely click them, come over, hang out with us. We're going to be kind of competitive, but we're also going to have a lot of fun. My warband is going to be Warband Whiskey, and we're going to have fun. It's a good group of guys. We're going to be chirping at each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, now let's get into this build, and let's kind of explain to you how I envision how this is going to go and what I'm going to focus on. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull up the most powerful resource out there, the notepad. Now my handy dandy notepad is actually gonna allow me to kind of map out what I'm doing. So what I've done is I've wrote down every single ability. I've also put spaces in here so we can kind of type out what ability we're going to be using as we're upgrading and going, and we're going to cover the abilities as we get to them per leveling. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because obviously, as you guys are aware, when you start a character, you start out at level 1. You are not guaranteed all of their abilities right up front. You do have to level up to unlock them and utilize them. Now, some abilities are going to be better than others, and some are going to come up front that you don't really need, whereas the later skills are going to be better. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to talk about what skills are going to be on our bar the entire time leveling up. And I'm going to explain my thought process while solo and group farming, as far as like how I'm going to use those abilities or why I would use those abilities, and kind of go through it just to kind of get you in the mindset. So that way, when you go to do your launch, if you're watching this video, you kind of already have it in the back of your head, like, okay, this is how I'm going to rotate my skills. This is how I'm going to time my cooldowns, because no different than any MMO, this is an ARPG that has cooldown skills. You're going to have to definitely synergize and rotate, get a good rotation, damage rotation going to clear waves and mobs. just like you would in MMO, such as like Final Fantasy, WoW, ESO, all of those. You definitely have to utilize your cooldown skills in your rotation to do the damage. That's why we're going to break it down level by level, because the point of this is going from level 1 through 60 is your main prerogative. You're going to want to do this as quickly as possible. Luckily, Echo Hack has been working a lot with us at Aftershock United, giving us a lot of information. He's done a lot of interviews with all of us to kind of help us better get ready and prepared. Definitely a massive shout out to Echo Hack and maxroll.gg, another great resource for all Diablo Immortal content. He basically explained to us that expect anywhere between 20 hours to maybe 26 hours to go from 1 to 60. Now, that's not too unreasonable. I would expect it to possibly take maybe a little longer, especially with the game first coming out. And then as we progress, I imagine that time's gonna get a little shorter because we're gonna become more veterans and we're gonna have our playstyles down a little better. So because it's gonna take anywhere between 20 to, I'm gonna say 20 to like 35 for those of you that are conservative, hours to really level up, we definitely need to go skill by skill by skill, so that way you know what's going to be the easiest for you to play in your play style. So let's go ahead and start off here. As you can see here, I have labeled this to where we have primary abilities, crossbow shot level 1 and explosive arrow level 34. What this means is we get crossbow shot level 1 right off the rip. Now, as you can see here, if I scroll this up past the top of this sheet, you will see that on our spreadsheet we have crossbow shot. Primary attack cooldown is none. It charms boosted up to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10% damage. Fire an arrow for damage while moving at a reduced speed. So as you use this ability, it slows you down. The DH is already slow, so definitely keep that in mind. However, it's your basic primary attack, so you can always use it and spam it. Okay, so we get that. That's a gimme. That's a level 1 gimme. All right, so we're gonna use that. We're definitely gonna utilize that, right? So we're gonna keep in mind that explosive arrow comes back as an option at level 34. All right, moving on. The next ability that we get is multi-shot. Oh, would you look at that? It is it's a level 1 skill. Awesome. So let's go ahead and let's pan up to multi-shot, go over this one and read some notes. Multi-shot unlocks at level 1. Cooldown is only 9 seconds. Okay. Charms boot once again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10% damage. A barrage of arrows that deals damage to all enemies in a specific direction and has a maximum of 3 charges. So this is going to be like a funneled singular type one direction attack. Okay, so it's gonna be similar to this whole crossbow shot, but it's just gonna be multiple shots at the same time. Cooldown is 9 seconds. That seems really, really quick, honestly. And as you see here from our notes, we do have that labeled as a great skill. Now, take all this with a grain of salt. Like I said, I didn't get to do this I didn't get to play this class a whole lot, but I do know my own playstyle and what I'm comfortable with. So I'm definitely gonna be taking multi-shot. That's gonna be just a give me out the door. I know this is gonna be a good one. It's got a fast cooldown and it's one directional, which is kind of my playstyle anyways. I don't like a whole lot of AoE skills. Okay. Knockback shot control, also available at level 1. Okay, so we've already at level 1, we're gonna start off with multi-shot, knockback, and crossbow shot. We're already gonna start off with, you know, the 3 skills right off the rip. And yeah, so it gives us some options here, right? That means we're already gonna start with plenty of options for a rotation and kind of understand a little bit how the playstyle is gonna pan out. Now, knockback shot. Fires a bolt of energy that deals damage and knocks enemies back. Enemies knocked into an obstacles are stunned for 4 seconds. So the way we read this and the way we really think about this is knockback shot seems to be one of those abilities that's gonna be super impactful if you're playing solo. If you are doing a solo build, I'm gonna say knockback shot is probably gonna be extremely impactful and must have on your build, because the DH is slow. He's slow. His movement speed is the worst in the game. It doesn't really help him speed up too awful much. It does do a little bit of damage, which is cool, but overall, it's almost a waste of a slot. Whereas knockback shot, even though it's got a 12-second cooldown, it's allowing you to do damage and knock the character back. And if we scroll up here, we can see explosive arrow. We'll fire an arrow that explodes on impact, hitting the target, all enemies near it. And then it actually can be changed to a bola shot, which pretty much does the same thing as knockback shot. So depending on the playstyle you have, knockback shot can actually synergize later on with this explosive arrow. Now, when I just made that correlation, that's the kind of thinking, the forward thinking and proactive thinking you have to think or like go through as you're trying to get your builds really set and determined, right? Because even though you see and you read a skill and it's like, oh, this is great, how's this going to synergize with my in-game build? How's this going to synergize with my leveling build? Because it may be different than what it is at the end game. So the way I just read that is, if I'm going to be a solo player, I'm probably going to want to take knockback shot, and I may consider later on taking explosive arrow. Not saying that I will. We'll go through that more in detail as we go. All right, the next ability that we unlock is Reign of Vengeance. Man, Demon Hunter is just starting off super strong with all the abilities here. I gotta tell you, it's definitely starting off extremely strong. It's kind of, honestly, it's a little broken. So let's look at Reign of Vengeance. Massive volley of arrows that rains down for 4 seconds, dealing damage to all enemies in the area. Now, something else to note is when you get gear, and like I said at the beginning of the video with a disclaimer, we're assuming that we are not gonna get the gear or the gems needed for these builds. This will change this ability just a little bit depending on what type of legendary gear you get. This is going to be an amazing ability. And once again, now we've started off where we have 1, 2, and 3 secondary attacks and 1 primary attack. And this is only at level 2, which is going to be within probably the first 5 minutes of playing the game. All right, so now we have a base. So now it gets to the point where we get our next ability, and we can start thinking about how we're going to play. Okay, so moving down, we're gonna go to level 8 here. This is gonna be the level 8 skill Strafe. Now, Strafe, what does it do? Spin rapidly while moving at 70% speed and shooting in all directions while active, consuming energy that is recovered while not in use. That means actively, which means even though this is a cooldown of 0.5 seconds, this means it can be reactivated right away. However, it's going to be limited to the amount of energy you have acquired since the last time it was used. It's going to be on cooldown, so to speak, while it's accumulating the energy to exceed the damage. This is going to be a gimme once again because it's a level 8 skill. At this point, this becomes your 4th ability on the bar. So now you have your 4 abilities, you have your primary, and it's time to really go to town as a demon hunter, right? Well, kind of. So you're going to be doing this, and you're going to use Strafe probably, because I mean, you have it for another 10 levels, which gives you an idea of, okay, what is my AoE type damage as long as my single target damage? Like, how's this rotation going to work? You're going to be moving forward. You're going to be moving forward. You're not going to get to rifts yet, and you're going to get kind of accustomed to this type of gameplay. Now, bear in mind, the next ability that you're going to be able to get is going to be your movement skill, and that's going to be unlocked at level 18. Now, you have some options here when we get to Daring Swing. So at this point, you can either replace one of the abilities. So let's go ahead and let's list them out. That's why we got this here, right? We got, so we have multi-shot. I'm just gonna put multi, we have knockback, right? And then we have Reign of Vengeance. I'm gonna simplify that to ROV. And then technically we have Strafe. Now, we are faced with the challenge of what skill are we gonna take out next? Why are we gonna take it out? How are we gonna use it to move forward, because we're trying to level from level 1 through 60 super quickly. Now, Daring Swing is our movement skill. Every character has a movement skill. Ours is use a rope to swing to a location, dealing damage to enemies in the way, maximum of 2 charges. It's a 10-second cooldown. It's kind of the worst movement skill in the game, and the DH is already slow. So because he's already slow, that's kind of a problem in my opinion. So is it going to be worth it to take Daring Swing to level fast to level 60? In my opinion, I'm not taking this skill. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick with what I've already done for the last 10 levels, because at this point I've leveled up 10 times. I've gotten accustomed to the Demon Hunter at this point, and I want to keep moving forward just a little bit to do a little bit more damage. Now, the reason why I say that is because the next skill is going to be this Knife Trap. Now, Knife Trap is going to interject a different type of mechanic. So Daring Swing would be a movement skill, right, that allows you to move forward to cover ground while doing a little bit of damage while you're moving forward. 2 charges, slow cooldown, not a whole lot of movement speed increase. But Strafe is at least going to give you that AoE along with technically your other AoE, which is Reign of Vengeance, and your 3 other primary skills that do a single target line damage, right? And then the next thing you have that gets unlocked is this Knife Trap. Now, what does Knife Trap do? It does the following. Place a knife trap that explodes and an enemy approaches. Shooting knives at all nearby enemies, can have 3 traps at a time, cannot overlap each other, maximum 3 charges. Okay, this has got a 12-second cooldown. Once again, charms increase it up to 10% damage. Now, this skill is going to be super impactful, I feel like, in PvP, not so much PvE. However, since we're already rocking these whole these whole abilities here, where we're doing a multi, we're doing a knockback, we're doing a Rain of Vengeance, we're doing a strafe. So we've got AoE, we got AoE-ish, right? Single target or one direction, multi-shot, one direction, primary shot, we got a little bit of diversity, not a whole lot. What I'm thinking is at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna swap out Knife Trap, and I'm gonna put that in for my strafe. Now, the reason why I'm gonna put this in for strafe is because of the following. I'm already at this point committed to 2 AoE abilities, right? Knife Trap is going to essentially work kind of like an AoE, and at this point I'm going to run in a circular type pattern moving forward because I've gotten kind of used to how my abilities are going to work. And at this point, I'm guessing I'm going to level quick enough to where my opponents are going to be a little bit higher level through me, so I'm not going to be able to just run in a straight linear line and doing single shots to go through them all, right? Also, depending on what gear I get, I may have gotten gear that allows me to shoot through the enemies. I may not have. You never know what you're going to get dropped right off the beginning of the game. Sometimes you get lucky. There's also going to be challenges as we're going in battle passes, which may give us other gems and pieces of gear that allow us to modify those abilities to where they do a little bit more damage. However, we don't know this. So by taking a shot in the dark, we can say strafe 1 is probably not that useful, right? I mean, it really is an energy dependent on the ability. Proccing, the cooldown's got to go, even though it doesn't really have a cooldown. Like, it's kind of a monotony to hold on to. However, Knife Trap is simply going to be this. So if you're walking up to a pack of enemies and you Knife Trap, do a circular pattern, and then lead them back into it, at that point, you're grouping them all up so that way you can single target shoot them, as well as use our Rain of Vengeance on them. So you're kind of double utilizing it, right? You're setting a trap. So at this point, you're becoming a trapper. For those of you who are familiar with Path of Exile, you guys are very familiar with this, where you can flame dash, you can leap dash, you can do whatever. Set some traps, go away, let the enemies run over them, and boom, explosion, dead. Kind of going to be the same thought process here. And at this point, we've got Knife Trap at level 24, and all we're really doing to change our gameplay from 1 through 24 at this point is we're slightly modifying one of our AoE abilities. So you see where I'm going with this is we're definitely keeping our familiarity going through this build, leveling up. All right, the next one I think is going to be the most controversial one in the game, where a lot of people are not happy about this, because I'm going to openly admit I love Sentry. I love the idea of it. I love, for my type of playstyle, this is going to be an amazing ability for me. So what is Sentry? It's a level 28 skill, cooldown's 18 seconds. Summon a turret for 30 seconds, note 30 seconds with an 18-second cooldown. That damages nearby enemies, can have 2 at once, and has 2 max charges. Now, there's pros and cons to using Sentry. 1, it is going to act as an aggro aggravator. What is aggro? That is essentially what it means if you are going to be targeted, or your Sentry is going to get targeted, right? In this case, your Sentry is going to do a lot of damage. He's going to get targeted. He's going to pull the aggro from you, and your Sentry is going to get knocked out. 18-second cooldown. You can have 2 up at a time. So this means as you're rotating here, you can almost always have 2 up by the time you realize it's up and ready and you need to press the button. So what this tells me is, like I was just stating with Knife Trap, is we have multi, knockback, Rain of Vengeance, Knife Trap, which we then started to use and get used to using at level 24 for placing, doing a circular motion while shooting, targeting them all into a circle or into a box, like a kill box essentially, and then letting the Knife Trap proc to do the damage. Now we have a Sentry, which can do the same type of mechanic. However, you can actually use that to place them multiple times, and this also allows you to go ahead and use a decoy. Right? Because at this point in time, you don't know exactly where you're going to be at level wise. You may be over leveled, you may be under leveled. The enemies may be really tearing you up, right? So you may need that, oh crap, get out of free jail card for a minute, to where oh, I misplaced my sentry, so it pulled aggro, and then you get the hell out of dodge. Are you following me? There's different playstyles that this can be useful for. I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, John, this is a terrible ability, don't use it. I'm also going to say on solo, I'm going to use it. On group play, I'm for sure going to use it. Group play, I think sentry is going to really shine because at this point, you're going to have multiple people, and you're going to be able to keep throwing down these sentries left and right. So as your teammates are doing this AoE damage, they're doing these buffs, you're adding in more damage units, DPS, to do more damage. Like, you know what I mean? Especially when you go into bossing, it's gonna be super impactful. However, I know a lot of people are saying Sentry is a waste of time, don't use it. I'm gonna disagree with you here, and this is why, because my gameplay style, I think it's gonna suit me. Now, I could be wrong, and I may be releasing a video next Thursday, Friday going, well, that was dumb. And you know what? I will. If I'm wrong, I will come out and gladly say it and admit it, because at this point in time, we're theory crafting. We're going through all these abilities, I'm diagnosing it, and we're just mocking it up, right? We're trying to do the fastest abilities 1 through 60 that we can think of and how this playstyle is gonna work. And by doing the Sentry, we're not changing a whole lot of playstyle that we've done from level 1, right? The whole point is to level fast. To level fast, you got to get familiarity, right? To get familiarity, you've got to use skills that are like skills that you've been using for a long time. At this point, we're level 28. We've been using these, I believe Echo Hack said that it'd be somewhere between maybe 6 to 7 hours to get to level 28. So you've already been getting that familiarity, right? All right, the next ability that comes available is, well, Smoke Screen. So at this point, Spinning Chakram. Spinning Chakram. Now, this one is interesting. I feel like this could be something. Let's see. It unlocks at level 28. It has an 18-second cooldown. Okay, cool. So far, our cooldowns are not massive on the Demon Hunter so far. Launches a chakram that deals damage to all enemies in its path, then deals more damage on the return path. Cooldown resets upon return, but no more than 3 times in 12 seconds. Okay. So at this point, we now have Spinning Chakram. So we have a couple of options here, right? We have an option of we're using a multi-shot, right? Which is doing a lot of damage for us, because at this point, we're doing a multi-shot, which is a barrage of arrows, right? In a specific area. It's a 9-second cooldown. We've gotten very comfortable using this ability. We've used Knockback Shot, which fires a bolt of energy that deals damage and knocks back the enemy and stun for 4 seconds. So this allows you to kind of move a little freely around them with a 12-second cooldown. We're doing Rain of Vengeance, which is just like a massive AoE hailstorm of arrows coming down in an area. It's gonna be super great because you're doing these circular type motions, right, for gathering enemies. And then you have Sentry, which is gonna be going around and shooting those circular enemies as you're baiting everyone, right? So now we have this ability called Spinning Chakram. What are we supposed to do with Spinning Chakram? How would it play in here for us? Well, we got a couple options. So the thought process is here we can weigh our options with the following. We could either, 1, go right at it. We can say, nope, no Sentry. I'm not going to do that play because it also unlocks level 28. I'm going to go into Spinning Chakram. I'm going to take out Knife Trap, and I'm going to double down on single target damage and move forward. Because at this point in my build, we've abandoned that movement skill. So we're going to full DPS. We're doing all the damage possible. We've got a cooldown so far that is 18 seconds. We got a cooldown that's 9 seconds. We got a cooldown that's another, 12 seconds? Yep, 12 seconds and then 16 seconds. So at this point, at the 16-second mark, we're 2 seconds away from a multi-shot, which then puts us like, what is that? Another like 8 seconds away from a knockback shot, which then gives us another multi-shot. At this point, we're cycling single target damage with a little bit of AoE mixed in. So do we go Sentry? Do we go Spinning Chakram? Here's the thing. I personally, with my playstyle, I'm gonna go Sentry. I'm gonna be playing as a group. That means my sentries aren't going to pull a whole lot of aggro. My teammates will, however, and my job is to do as much damage as quickly as possible. Whereas a Spinning Chakram, even though it does do a lot of damage as it releases, this is going to require placement. This is going to require that your teammates are working together, communicating. You know what direction they're going, because you're going to be firing that Chakram. It's going to leave, and then it's going to come back in the same path. However, if your teammates are leading the enemies away, what happens? You waste your return shot, which then allows them to take less damage. Sentry is going to lock on and just keep doing damage. So this is where playing as a group or playing solo comes into play if you want to use a spinning chakram or a sentry. In this case, I'm going to stick with sentry and move forward. Spinning chakram though is a good option for those that are solo play. I would highly recommend it. Me personally, even with solo, I'm going to use sentry because that fits my playstyle better. It's all about what is more comfortable for you. No build is really terrible unless you're using this next skill, which is smokescreen. Now, there are some instances where smokescreen could be great, like say for example boss fights, mini boss fights, where you are getting your ass handed to you, you need to regroup. Smokescreen could be worth it. In my opinion though, you are pretty much going to pass on this. What does smokescreen do? It's 10.8 seconds cooldown, creates a cloud of smoke at all locations, concealing you and nearby allies for 2.5 seconds. During that time, allies cannot be attacked unless they attack. It's essentially a, oh shit, I messed up, get me out of here skill. Once again, if you are someone who's dying a lot, maybe you forego your sentry, or maybe you honestly, forego your knockback in this case. Maybe, you know what, honestly, I wouldn't even do that. I'd say get rid of your Rain of Vengeance just because knockback's gonna do a stun, sentry is gonna pull aggro, smokescreen is gonna let you get away. That may be the noobiest played out there just for 3 opportunities to get the hell out of danger. But in this case, I am not going to use it. I'm not going to recommend it unless you are someone who is dying often and kind of really needs the smokescreen ability to get out of dodge. That's my opinion. All right, moving on. We only have 3 skills left in the tree, which is awesome. So we've essentially used the same 3 from level 1 at this point, and we're level 38. So we're getting super proficient with these skills, right? We're super proficient. We know exactly what we're doing. We've got our positionals down. We've got our arrows for where we're targeting, right? Because nothing's going to be just point click like a true ARPG like Diablo 3. We've gotten used to it. We've been using a sentry for a while now because we've had the sentry since what, level 28. So we've used it for 13 levels. We're getting comfortable. We're getting comfy. And as we're going up, these levels are not the same time frame. They increase in length. All right, now we're going to Impale. What does Impale do? Impale is the next option. Unlocks at level 41, 0.5 seconds cooldown. Throw knives at an enemy, dealing damage to all that are caught in the fire. Impale slowly consumes energy, which recovers while not in use. It's going to be similar to the other ability that we talked about earlier, which was this the strafe ability, right? Same type of deal. It's got to recharge while you're going through it. That's okay. However, my thought process on this is I'm not going to use Impale. However, there is a piece of gear out there that will allow Impale to go through more enemies. Because you could potentially go through more enemies, this could be super beneficial to a lot of players that are really lining up their enemies to do their due diligence. And Impale may be perfect for you that are doing that. In which case, at this point, you would swap out Sentry for Impale because you're going to be you've already got your pattern of getting them grouped up to do damage. And now you just want to go through and just drop the hammer. So you want to do a half. So instead of doing a full circle, right? Like full circle, you're gonna do like a half moon circle with Impale, and you're gonna start it here, go around and stop up here, turn around, boom, shoot down on them and just end them, right? That's gonna be the thought process on if you're gonna use an Impale. That's where you're gonna be able to use multi-shot knockback as you're moving. It's gonna be slowing you down just a little bit, and then you're gonna hit. However, at this point, Impale, we're still gonna be using the same skills, but what we've done is we've forgotten, oh man, we've unlocked a new primary slot. What do we do with it? Well, at this point, we've unlocked Explosive Arrow. We unlocked it at level 34. Man, I totally forgot all about it. What happened? Well, we got comfortable. We got comfortable with what we were using with this crossbow shot, and we kind of forgot about it. Now, at this point, you have options of CC, of how you really want to run it. Do you want to be doing a lot of damage, or do you want to be exploding them and then possibly stunning them? Now, me personally, I'm going to go ahead and use crossbow shot, and I'm going to use it probably every 12 seconds for a little bit of a movement increase, because it's going to launch volley of arrows and increase your movement speed. So even though I have sacrificed my movement skill, every 12 seconds I'm going to be able to do a volley, which makes me go faster. Not a bad trade-off. If I were to trade to explosive arrow, well, I could do a little bit more C. I could do a little bit more stuns. However, I'm going to move super slow. So I'm not gonna grab this. I'll probably play with this, but I'll never use this in my build. Okay, now that gets us right back to the whole, we've talked about Impale, we're gonna go ahead, I'm not gonna use it in mine. Next we're gonna talk about is Escape. Now Escape is an interesting ability. What does it do for you? It's a 8-second cooldown, which is a pretty good cooldown. That's pretty quick, right? That's quicker than your multi-shot. Jab a blade forward, damage while inflicting 60% reduced movement speed for 4 seconds while tumbling backwards. So it's like a boom, do a hit, do a backflip super slow, and kind of get some distance away. It's a really good slash and grab type deal. This is going to be an ability that would get used for bossing if you're doing like a solo boss build, or if you're doing like a no aggro, no minions around you, and you're just doing it 1v1-ish. This is going to allow you to go ahead and get in there and do some damage, pop out of reach if they're going to do like a swing ability. There are a couple of bosses that are going to have that type of a skill play, so this is when that skill will come into play. However, while going from level 1 through 60, Escape is going to be pretty much null and void, because at this point you're level 44. You've gotten this whole kit synergy down because you're using multi, knockback, and rain of vengeance, and at this point you're a pro. You don't need any other skills. All right, last but not least is Vengeance. We are at level 50 at this point. This is the last final ability that the Demon Hunter can get. What does this mean for your build? What are you doing? What is your last call? How are you swapping this out? What does Vengeance do? Cooldown of 20 seconds, transform for 6 seconds. Buffing primary attack to fire 2 additional shots for extra damage, passive gain 3% movement speed for each nearby enemy, max of 30%. Oh, so we're going slow, you say? Okay, at level 50, after we've gotten really used to this build, we're no longer going slow. So what does this tell us that we really need at this point? So we're using the single shot, right? That then allows that to become a multi-shot. We have a multi-shot. It's a 20-second cooldown. Multi-shot is 9-second cooldown, so we can do 2 multis and then get off a Vengeance while doing a primary shot in between both of them. Keep them perfectly synergized to where you're always doing a volley of like 3, essentially, right? On the same time, you're gonna be able to throw in knockback, rain, and vengeance. Now, what do you do with your sentry? This is where it's totally up to you at this point. What I would do is at this point, I would probably forego knockback. I would get rid of it at this point, keep rain and vengeance. I would keep my sentry. And the reason being is because when you pick up vengeance, what you're gonna end up with is you're gonna end up with vengeance, multi-shot, and your primary. Those 3 are gonna do a lot of damage for you, so you're not gonna be doing as much of the circular patterns as you would be. So what you can do is you're gonna be moving faster, so you can drop a sentry, go around a little bit, let that pull some aggro, do a little bit of damage while you turn, and within 20 seconds you knock out that mob. Because at that point you're gonna have 2 multi-shots, you're gonna have the main primary, and then you're gonna have vengeance just pop off all this damage for you. And it's going to make a big difference. There's also going to be a piece of gear out there that extends Vengeance, which is then going to make it super impactful. So you want to kind of get used to it because Vengeance is going to be used in your in-game build. So at this point, we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is we are going to forsake our multi. We're going to use multi. We're going to forsake our knockback for Vengeance. I'm going to leave it in the same spot because it's going to be the same sort of rotation, right? Because that's also a thing. Keep in mind of where you put these slots, because as you're leveling 1 through 60, if you're switching out abilities, you want to keep the same type of cooldowns on them, because it's all about muscle memory, like repeating, like am I using the same buttons to activate these abilities? All right, and then we're going to take our Rain of Vengeance, and I'm still going to keep this Sentry. Why? Because at this point, I've gotten used to it. At this point, I've used it to get out of harm's way. I've used it as a crutch for, oh crap, I'm dying. Let's drop a sentry, let it die so I can get out of here. I've used it to do a lot of damage. So at this point, I've gotten super comfortable. I've used almost the same skills from level 1 through level 50. My character, I've got the build down. I'm confident. And at this point, it's time to start switching gears and start thinking about what am I gonna do when I get to level 60. And that's where we're gonna go into a totally different YouTube video. I hope you guys enjoyed this build guide. It's long, it's 32 minutes into this, but I went into every detail of my thought process of how I would do these builds, how I'm gonna play them myself from level 1 through level 60, because you have to kind of keep that mentality going in games like these. They're fun to play, we have a lot of fun with them. However, if we aren't thinking a few steps ahead and pre-planning our builds, what happens is we get frustrated, we run into a lot of disorganization. When we get into groups, it breaks down. I want everybody to enjoy the game. So being able to really think ahead and take into consideration muscle memory skills, people's general reactions, people, not everybody is a god gamer, right? They can't be. Some of us just want to go out there, click some buttons, and have a little fun to unwind. And that's where guides like this, where we explain the breakdown of everything, and we kind of keep that in mind as we're building, are helpful. So I hope this helps you guys out. I hope you guys liked it. Leave comments down below. Are you going to follow my guide? Are you going to be using Multi-Vengeance, Rain and Sentry? Or are you going to be doing a totally different build? I don't blame you either way you go. I hope you guys have fun with it, because at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. Also, if you guys are looking for that community to join to have fun with, Aftershock United, click the links down below. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.